Hi, this is Tim Mackesy from Atlanta, Georgia, December 2nd of 2020, and I'm here to have a conversation with a 15-year-old named Evan. Evan, I met him 2 days ago on November 30, and he really has some unique insights into stuttering. He's had years of speech therapy in the past, and he came into my office on Monday with some really pretty severe arm movements and head movements and a lot of avoidance. So what we're going to do is we're going to play about a minute and a half of a video. So we're about to watch a video of him from Monday. And I asked him, I was explaining to him and his mother that good speech therapy is kind of like an old-fashioned scale with two plates. On one side, you have the thoughts and feelings about stuttering, and on the other side of the scale, the other plate, are the actual symptoms of stuttering, the blocking, the arm movements, head jerking, stuff like that. So I'm going to play the video that we're about to watch together. Again, it'll only run for about a minute and a half. I was giving the example of the scale, like the cognitive, psychological part and the speech part. He said this one's the core.
The root, yes.
The root. Explain that.
Well, see, it's the kind of like, how can I word this properly? It is the root being like, when you go to speak, you first have to think about speaking, like, you have to think about the words to say, and the meaning that you want to convey, bars, but like if you have that, if you trip up in that department, it reflects and it reverberates in the actual execution of speaking. And so like it's like trying to build a tower. And if you get the first piece, the foundation, and that's not a level, the entire rest of the tower will not be straight, because it is on that foundation of the cognitive department that goes into the speaking.
Wow. Did a good job there. So what did you think of seeing the video of yourself with your head moving and your arms moving? That was on Monday.
It's quite a change. It's quite sobering to watch myself, to view that happening from an outside perspective. It's weird.
So I have an expression I coined a long time ago: when the attempted solutions become the problem. I want you to take over and explain what was behind the urge to put in the fillers and karate chopping, as we call it, your hand to your palm and your head moving.
So the root behind those urges was the longing to not waste time and to kind of like speed up and concisely say my points. But I quickly found that all of those like word changing and those big exaggerated movements, they only served to slow me down and to take more and more time. I'm spending minutes and minutes and minutes trying to force the stutter out and have like a true battle with the stutter, and it just wouldn't work.
We have a fancy name for that. Secondary symptoms is what we say in the industry. I used to put my head down and spit during B's and P's, which was embarrassing. I've taught you how to feel the stutter. On Monday, when I asked you to read out loud, I asked you to rate the feeling in your body. You were describing a tightness and a pulsation right in your sternum. Can you explain what you learned about what happens before the block, which in turn was before your arms and head would move?
So before the block would happen and before the stutter would manifest, you would feel a tightness, a pulsating in your chest, and that can be used as kind of a warning system to tell you when a stutter may eventually happen. And when you're about to stutter, you kind of know the word, and you relax and calm down.
Mm-hmm. You said that when you would read out loud and you would begin to stutter, then you would panic, you'd feel it in your chest, and you would end up actually speeding up to get it over with. What was that like for you?
So that was, well, that was a poor choice of execution to try and help the stutter, because it's like trying to zip up a coat that has like some fur on it, and the zipper gets stuck. If you keep trying to force that zipper, it does not help the problem. It actually makes the problem worse. So I learned that you can slow down and just kind of think and bring the zipper back, and then slowly bring it back up to fix the problem and not to just fight the problem.
That's a great example. And it also comes back to when the attempted solution is the problem. You begin to stutter when you're reading. We can begin to project that people want us to get it over with. We need to speed up because we're wasting their time, the class's time, the teacher's time. So then it's self-fulfilling. As I speed up, imagining others want me to speed up, guess what happens? I end up blocking more and more and more. They accumulate, as you said. And I gave you an example of a revolving door at a hotel. If you're looking through the door and someone has a foot in, you yield to that person, even if there's 4 people behind you trying to speed you up, make you speed up. So a danger is to, when we imagine we need to speak in a certain way to please other people, we end up getting into trouble. We've also learned about phrasing. I looked at your reading on Monday, and there was a lot of stuttering, a lot of speeding up, and then taught you something called phrasing that appeared in the King's Speech and has been used. It was taught to Joe Biden. How has phrasing helped you?
So phrasing has helped me when reading and when speaking by allowing me to organize my words and organize when I can breathe and when I speak, to concisely get my points across and not stammer. Phrasing is just a great technique that allows you to know when to speak and when to breathe, and just speak clearly and read clearly and understand what you're speaking, to help you allow other people to listen to you and they can understand what you're speaking, because people speak in phrases. They don't speak in like words like I am speaking. They speak in phrases like I'm speaking. And just kind of having that technique, it allows you to quickly and concisely and non-stutteringly tell your points.
I think of phrasing as a pendulum back and forth, and I think of someone like Morgan Freeman, the actor. Morgan Freeman speaks in chunks, allowing his voice to really resonate. I heard a commercial with Matthew McConaughey for Lincoln cars. And if you listen to him, he also uses this tempo, this phrasing. So it helps you to control your rate of speech. It helps you to monitor the feeling in your chest, doesn't it?
Right. So when you speak and you start phrasing, you kind of learn to feel like these pulsatings, these vibrations in your chest and in your body, and kind of read the stutter. You can study the stutter to effectively kind of like counter it and and clear the stutter. You take these feelings and you kind of hold them. You don't try and run from them by by like changing words or going like oh, or you don't try and fight them by trying to take that block and take that stutter and just like commit to it and just like block for 5 minutes. You take that feeling, you take that tension, that force, that pressure, and you hold it. You hold it, you allow it to like embrace you, and then you let it go. You just allow it to pass, and then you speak smoothly.
The part of your body we're talking about is called your soma. Soma means of body. It's anywhere from your up around your throat and neck all the way down to your stomach. Some people, when they're in a complete panic about stuttering, feel it all the way down the stomach. A classic example would be the first day of a meeting or a class. You have to go around the room and say your name or read out loud for the very first time in front of a group of strangers. That could, in some cases, be a panic. I know one time I had to appear in traffic court, and I was dumb enough to think I was going to talk myself out of a ticket. And it's here in Atlanta, Georgia. There must have been 250 people in the room, and I had to come down in front of everybody, say my name in front of everybody, and it was a nightmare. I was like, when I first moved to Atlanta in '88. And anyways, that was definitely a time when I felt a 10 out of 10 of panic in my body, but yours is really in your sternum. But you want to learn, anyone wants to learn, where do they feel the stutter before it happens? A lot of speech therapy talks about what are called light contacts. My name is Tim. Or pull out, when you pull out of the stutter. Light contacts, easy onsets. Well, that's once the stutter is up in the speech anatomy. But we can learn a lot about feeling the stutter before it ever gets there. I was told by speech therapist after speech therapist, when you feel a stutter coming, use your technique. When you feel it coming, use your technique. And it wasn't until I was an adult that I asked myself, well, how can I feel a stutter? How do you feel a stutter coming? And of course, I had my list of feared words. One of the things you've been afraid of, like so many people, is saying your name, just saying your first name. And what will you do in the future here when someone surprises you and asks you your first name?
So the immediate thing to do is like as soon as they ask you your name, for people who stutter, you instantly have this like jolt of like, oh man, like I have to rise to the plate now. And a key thing to do in that moment is to consider what is happening, calm down. You slow down, you calm down, and you assess the situation. And only by doing that can you actually get through it. You have to calm down and then slowly just kind of breathe and exhale and drop into that stutter. You drop past it, like you feel that force and you just take it, you grab it, and then you leave it.
The key is to say it as you exhale. Your first name begins with a short vowel, Evan. Should we look away during the stutter, Evan?
No, looking away can only worsen it because you stop you stop making eye contact, you stop having a strong like connection, and you feel more isolated. So you truly have to meet the stutter. You have to meet the occasion. You should not run from it. You should not try and fight it. You just have to meet it, take it, and leave it.
Yeah, when we maintain eye contact, we stay associated, present, right there and then. If you avert eye contact, you're dissociated. You're wondering what the person's thinking. Are they making facial expressions? As you're dissociated, you create a bigger, longer stutter on a stopwatch. You also, unfortunately, all of those negative thoughts are loaded to your hard drive once again. So I'm stressing, never inhale before the block. You say it on an exhale. All right. So you study Jiu Jitsu, which is pretty cool. Some martial arts are very combative, like we stand and as you strike me, I block it and strike back, extremely combative. Jiu Jitsu, explain to us how Jiu Jitsu, how you assess somebody and then as they come at you, how you use their energy. We don't want to think of stuttering as an opponent, a competitor against us. You use something called a flow partner.
Right. So, Jiu-Jitsu is a art that is very much on like taking your opponent's power and force and using it against them through technique. So, so it's one of the arts that like you can have a small dude like me who's like 5'4", 115 pounds, and I could if I have proper technique, then I could very well beat a dude who is like 6'4", like 300 pounds. It is all about technique and just control. You have to control, and when you're being choked and stuff, right? Like you don't want to panic. The last thing that you want to do is just like panic and freak out and lose air. You have to calm down and control the situation and slowly just analyze it and use your techniques that you learn to get out of that situation. Every situation in the art can be used for you and be used against you. So you can use your opponent's power against him or her, and your opponent can use your power against you. And how that can relate to stuttering is if you have a big block, right, and you sense that big block, if you try and fight that block, that stutter will use your power, your force that you're trying to put into it, and it will use it against you. You will fight it, and you will fight it, and you will not win. Because the stutter is not like a person to beat. The stutter is like a constant force, a force of nature that you cannot beat, but you can flow with. And you must understand that the stutter is not like your opponent. It's not your person that you're trying to hurt. It's a person that you're trying to flow and go through the motions with and just try and pass energy. And when in training, like a way to do that in training is if a person tries to run at you and they're trying to, like, that stutter is trying to come at you, it's trying to block you, instead of like trying to go at them and charge at them, instead of trying to fight the stutter, you can use its energy and you can just kind of take it and you can take that guy and flip him around and flip him on his back and win. And to do that in stuttering, you take that energy and instead of trying to force it and instead of trying to run away from it, you just take it and you channel it.
That's a great example. We just went to Starbucks on what I call a field trip. You had your mask on, I had my mask on. Everything at Starbucks is straight up here during the pandemic. And this is a classic. The cashier runs the order and then the barista goes, "Hey, what's your name?" In that moment, they surprised you, and you almost blocked. It was like Evan. It was that surge, almost like you're being rushed in sparring in jiu-jitsu. But any teenager or adult who stutters can relate to the Starbucks moment or the counter at the fast food restaurant when they ask your name and you maybe weren't ready for your name. Kind of surprises you. But part of your journey after this afternoon will involve dealing with what we call demands on language and being aroused. An example is if you disagree with somebody about a topic you're passionate about, or you're trying to tell a story of something maybe you saw and it really struck you, it really intrigued you, and you're like, you wouldn't believe it. I was on the internet and this is what I saw. So when you leave here, and we're not done, of course, we're going to keep working together, but that is like the fast rushing sparring partner. You're going to feel it in your body. What are you going to do during heightened moments of arousal and demands on language?
So that is like when you're in a bad position in jiu-jitsu. Your training partner is crushing you. They're putting all their weight on like your head or something. And at that moment, you could freak out, right? And then if you freak out and start like flailing your arms around, they're going to grab that arm and they're going to put you in an arm lock. And you're probably going to be in a much worse position. So instead of doing that, you crunch in, you examine the situation, you calm down, you breathe, you calm down, you examine the situation, and you escape it.
To be more specific speech-wise, when you're aroused, when you disagree with somebody, or you're super excited, the feeling in your chest will go up. It'll increase. And that's when you have to be extraordinarily patient. I tell people to stop, take a little exhale, not an inhale. A little exhale will release the tension in the soma. It's almost like a dial on a faucet. You do a little exhale to release some of that pent-up tension that's mounting because of demands on language and arousal. Like, I disagree with you. I can't believe you think that. Cool. So you had years of speech therapy, several different attempts at it prior to coming to Atlanta. What is maybe if you could summarize the things you've learned in the last 2.5 days, what would it be?
Well, that stuttering is a habit. And stuttering is not a condition, but it is a natural kind of conclusion to how humans work. And that if I can form a habit, then I can replace a habit and I can change a habit. And if I can choose to do these bad habits, then I can also choose to do good habits in their place. If I can choose to like karate chop and try and fight the stutter, then I can also choose to stop and breathe and calm down or exhale truly and calm down and allow that energy to move on by.
So we know there's no cure for a stutter. You and I didn't have a choice when we were little if we're going to stutter or not. And I think what you're trying to tell us is important is we actually made a list of all the things you did trying not to stutter, putting in fillers like oh and turning away and head jerks and karate chops and a lot of different tricks, that all of those are choices and all of those are changeable. Then, as Les Brown said, you shoot for the moon. If you miss the moon, you hang from the star. You attempt to speak with more and more poise, more and more ease, and see how well you can get to always having this calm nature. so that you speak well when you read out loud or raise your hand or introduce yourself and later go off to college. Evan, it has been an extraordinary 2.5 days with you. You're very insightful for your age. And I look forward to working with you in the future and seeing just how far you go.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.